When you're sick, the advice you literally get is to do drugs and stay out of school. This is Epic Thoughts. Welcome welcome all to another wonderful episode of Epic Thoughts. I am your host, Roman, entrepreneur, business owner, president of Heritage Park Production. Let's get right into it. I'm glad you're here to view and watch with me and listen on social media or on our podcast or watch us on HBTV. I appreciate you guys coming on and joining me. This is pre-recorded, so I will let you know that. So all the people who are chatting in the comment section, we will try to get to your comments. We are watching, however, we do, because of the gravity of what we're discussing, we do want to ask you to still be mindful of what you're posting. Anyways, so this video has come across so many different topics. Many people have showed it to me. I didn't want to talk about it really, because I really, when information comes to me, I normally just take it in and spew it out. I normally don't stay around with it too long. But I feel like this is something that we need to discuss. And this is something that's going on right now. We have a pretty packed show, got a lot of good stuff happening today. And so we're going to get right into it without losing time and stuff like that. So just stick with me here. So there's a man by the name of transgender man, I believe. His name is Alan Walker. Affiliation really doesn't matter if he's transgender or not. That has no bearing on what we're discussing here. But he is was a professor at Columbia University, and he wrote a book about MAPS. And if you haven't heard the term MAPS, MAPS means minor attracted people, meaning these are people who are attracted to minors. Okay. And I'm not talking like minors as like a 17, 16-year-old, which, by the way, I need to let you know, caveat, a 16 or 17-year-old is a minor. So, but this is about people who have attraction to children. And he wrote a book about it, and he did an interview. And this interview has since gone viral. It hasn't been taken down yet. It's not going well on either side. So there's a couple of things I want to share in this video. I'm going to show you a little bit of the clip of it so you can kind of grasp what's going on. It was scary when people were mentioning this a couple of years ago. People would say stuff, and I would see TED Talks about people who are coming to the aid of people who have attractions to children. And I'm not a psychologist. I can't get into the mental ideology behind why this is something that we need to discuss or something I need to kind of consider being lenient on. But I want you to take a watch, because this is what's going on right now in our world today. This is scary, especially if you have children. I find this very hard to wrap my head around, being lenient to somebody who has a perversion to being attracted to children. And I'll share you my thoughts as the video goes on, but we're going to bring it up right now. This is Alan Walker, and he shares from his book, and I'll be pausing it throughout. This is Alan Walker, ladies and gentlemen. Just take a view.
So it's a difficult and important subject, and we're thrilled to have Alan with us today to talk about it. Thank you for being here.
I'm so happy to be here. Thanks so much.
That's Alan. So my first question was, even the title of your book is pretty controversial, right? Because the subtitle is Minor Attracted Persons and Their Pursuit of Dignity. And many people are concerned that the designation of minor attracted persons, or MAPS, suggests...
There's that term, MAPS, M-A-P, minor attracted persons. That's what that means when you hear that word.
That it's okay to be attracted to children, or they're worried that the term suggests that pedophilia is a sexual orientation, which they worry is a slander on LGBT people. So could you talk about why you use that term in the title and throughout the book?
Absolutely. And thank you so much for that question. I use the term minor attracted person, or MAP, in the title and throughout the book for multiple reasons. First of all, because I think it's important to use terminology for groups that members of that group want others to use for them. And MAP advocacy groups like Before You Act have advocated for use of the term MAP. They've advocated for it primarily because it's...
So let me stop for a second. So what he's saying is like everything else, we have to be self-identified. Everything has to be self-identified. I have to self-identify myself so I can tell you how you're supposed to treat me, and I don't want to be put in a different stereotype, which um, it's an identity issue more than it is anything else. And I'm going to say this statement here. I never say this before. I'm going to say it here. An identity statement is a problem with you, not me. Okay. I don't need to self-identify who I am to anybody. I don't need to, I don't need you to recognize me as a black man. I don't need you to recognize me as a man. I don't need you to recognize me at all. Okay. Because I'm confident in who I am. So I don't care. Like, when do we get to the point where we have to now I have to have the pressure of of not it sounds harsh, but I don't mean it to be harsh. Like, I don't need to sit there and kind of baby you so you can be self-identified as something that you're a man, you're a woman, okay, you're black, you're white. I don't understand why this is important, but the main thing is people are so self-conscious about scared to be themselves. Even if who you are has backlash, be you. Like, now we have to force people to treat you a certain way. And so now, because we've never drawn the line and said, yo, we need to put an end to this. This is ridiculous. It's getting out of control. Now we have to identify maps as people who have minor attractive per people. Like, now I have to be mindful of people who are attracted to children. Is that what you're saying? Okay. Well, let's keep going.
Less stigmatizing than other terms like pedophile. A lot of people, when they hear the term pedophile, they automatically assume that it means a sex offender. And that isn't true, and it leads to a lot of misconceptions about attractions toward minors. I've definitely heard the idea that you brought up, though, that the use of the term minor attracted person suggests that it's okay to be attracted to children. But using a term that communicates who someone is attracted to doesn't indicate anything about the morality of that attraction. From my perspective, there is no morality or immorality attached to attraction to anyone because no one can control who they're attracted to at all.
Okay, let me stop that right there. So much there. There's so much. One, I'm gonna get to the morality issue in a second. Okay. I just let him give us more rope to hang him with. But you can control who you're attracted to. I here's where I this is where I take it. Like, we can't get into the place where we are allowing people to just do whatever they want whenever they want to do it, right? That's just not how life works. And I don't like the idea that I don't like that statement. I can't control who I'm attracted to. Well, you can, but then you can't. You can't, but then you can, right? Like, it's almost like, remember we used it's almost like blaming the victim who got raped. Well, I mean, he's attracted to you. I mean, you look the way you dress caused him to respond the way he responded. Like, we have taken personal responsibility and we have completely thrown it out the window, right? We've basically thrown it out the window. Jesus says, if I look at a woman if I look at a woman with lust in my heart, I've already committed adultery. So he's letting you know, listen, you can look at a woman, like I can look at a woman and be like, oh, that woman is hot, or sorry, she's beautiful, and I can leave it at that. But I make the decision to take it a step further. I can sit there and be like, oh man, I can't wait to do this. Oh, I wonder what it would feel like if she did this, or seeing her in compromising positions that she didn't ask for. So then what am I supposed to do? And here's why I hear people say, well, I'm a man, right? I'm a man. You're an idiot, is what you are. You don't have self-control. Like, you don't have enough control to be like, I'm going to keep it in my pants. Like, rape to me, like, I know we're not talking about rape, but rape in a sense is the worst thing a man can do to a woman, in my opinion. One of the worst things he could do, because he's like being aggressively acting on, what is it, animalistic instinct. I don't think rape is a crime of passion. I think it's a crime of hate. It's a crime of hate. It's not passion. You can be passionate towards your spouse and be aggressive with your spouse if that's something that you guys agreed to do together. My point is this: you can control. I don't buy that crap. I don't buy, well, the heart wants what the heart wants. There's been times where I've been into somebody that I cannot be into. I just put it out there. There's people that I've been into, that I've been attracted to, and I would even venture to say had strong feelings for, and I couldn't do anything about it. Okay. I can't do anything about it. So what does that mean? It means I gotta be a grown up. I gotta put on my pants and my big boy pants and realize, hey, you know what? Yes, I understand the attraction part, but I don't need to wrestle with the thought and be like, oh, I wonder. Ah, ah, and normally speaking, I'm not a psychologist. Like, he could probably speak me under the table if we had a debate on the psychology behind maps. But at the same time, I guarantee you that we can connect it to something that happened to that person in their childhood, something that damaged them, something that hurt them, that caused them to be attractive to children. Okay, all right. And the morale thing, we'll come to that in a second. Let's continue.
In other words, it's not who we're attracted to that's either okay or not okay. It's our behaviors in responding to that attraction that are either okay or not okay.
Okay.
And I want to be extremely clear that child sexual abuse is never, ever okay.
I'm glad he came to that realization.
But having an attraction to minors, as long as it isn't acted on, doesn't mean that the person who has those attractions is doing something wrong. I think we have a tendency to want to categorize people with these attractions as evil. Excuse me, as evil or morally corrupt. But when we're talking about
okay, now he's using that term again, immorality or morally corrupt. Okay, let's go.
Non-offending maps, these are people who have an attraction that they didn't ask for, and one that is frequently they would give anything to change, but they find that they're unable to change those attractions. And most importantly, the people in my study did not act on them.
Okay. So he's saying that he has a study group of people who have these that have these issues. Now, I believe in the grace of God. I am a grace preacher 100%. I'm not law. I'm a grace person. So I can see giving people in these situations grace, people who struggle in this area grace. But I at the same time, I want people to try their damnedest if they have something that lives inside of them, something that's festering in them that can cause detrimental hurt to people. You should try your damnedest to not deal with to get rid of that crap, right? Like lust is horrible, right? I deal with people who have less issues, but at the same time, I've seen people conquer it. So for that reason, I think that the power of God can help. I think the only one that can help in this situation is God, right? So let's just talk about this morality aspect that he keeps bringing up. Like he was, I don't want people to think that they're morally or immorally wrong. This is the concept of grace. And like, you can argue me all the time and people argue with me all the time. Like, your grace message is going to, it gives people the right to sin. Listen, people sin regardless of what the message is, right? We can go into the law preaching churches and you could totally see that there's sin in that church. Like there's sin everywhere. We'll get to that in a second too. I got a second story. We're not going to do the whole hour about this. We don't need to give a whole hour to this. But at the same time, we need grace because we are we are immoral, right? We need grace because we're not right. The law actually shows us that we have a need for a savior. That's what the law does. That's what the purpose of the law for. Jesus came to show us that we can't do it on our own merits. And here we are in the situation we are in this day and age where people try even from, and listen, it's not just sinners. It's not just the immoral that are calling themselves moral. It's the Christians who are also calling themselves moral. Neither side is. That's the truth of the grace gospel. Like neither side of us there's no one moral around us. If there was anybody other than Jesus even says, if there's any way that you can take this cup from me, please let it pass. And basically saying, if there's another person that can do it, let them do it. If there's another person that could die for everyone, let them do it. Jesus was hesitant because he had to take on the sins of the world. That was the human side of him was responding to that. My point is this. there's a scripture that talks about the reprobate mind, and people always use that statement as reprobate meaning I'm saved, but then I'm coming and doing all the sin stuff. The reprobate mind is the mind that feels like they're moral, regardless of what they do, not because of what Christ has done. Now, hear what I'm saying. I'm not saying that just because I believe in the grace of God and the gospel of grace doesn't mean that I don't believe in morality. Okay. I believe that Jesus came so he would have life and have it more abundantly, and he paid the price for sin. I believe that 100%. I believe when he died on the cross, he died to pay the price, the debt that we owe for sin. Okay. With that being said, I know that I am not morally correct. I am inherently evil. I have tendencies that I have to put in check and submit it to the cross, because I'm not perfect. Even when I try to be, even when I think that I am, I'm still not morally correct. I'm still not there. And that was for the whole purpose of Christ dying on the cross. Now, when we get into the place where we feel like our morality supersedes the work on the cross, meaning my morality is I'm not immoral because it makes me feel bad. So I'm not going to accept you calling me immoral. I'm not going to accept the idea that I'm immoral. Then what ends up, that's a reprobate. You're being reprobated. Like my stance, I don't care what I do. I'm not immoral because it's wrong for you to call me immoral. That's why Jesus is the only one that can die for us anyways, because Jesus is the only one that can, with a whole heart, can say, I love you, but you're evil. I love you, but you're immoral. So we are living in that time right now. And it's not just, listen, I went off hard on the right and the left, and I'm going hard on right and left again. It's not just the way woke left. It's the way woke right just as bad. Like both sides, just from a different angle, just from a different glance. So like we have the extreme liberals sitting there like, don't call me bad just because I have this emotion. I'm just like you. I'm not immoral. Then you have the people on the right judging everyone else as if they're without blemish. Jesus died for all because no one can be moral. If you could be moral, if you could be 100% moral, I don't know if I'm saying the term right, then there's no need for Jesus. If you can live righteous without sin, you don't need the Savior. Jesus' whole purpose on the earth was to let people know they can't do it without him. I'm going to take it a step further. His whole purpose on the earth was to let people know that they can't do it. So you can't be moral. You can't be. There's no one who's perfect but Christ. That's good news. Okay. I just realized that I pre-recorded, so I'm waiting for responses and I'm not getting any. I'm like, oh man, everybody mad at me. I just realized it's pre-moral. But still leave your comments. Tell me what you think. Let's continue.
Something else you brought up was the idea that using the term MAP could suggest that attractions to minors are a type of sexual orientation. Whether or not attractions to minors are a type of sexual orientation is not a question that can be answered with my particular research. My research touched upon the labels that MAPs use to describe themselves, though, and a lot of them.
There it is again. We need to self-identify. I have a thought.
Have been really conscious about their choice of language because they don't want to slander, as you put it, lesbian, gay, and bisexual people. So
let me add this too, because the way woke conservative and the way woke right wing and the Christian, and I'm not bashing you. Trust me, I'm not bashing you. But I'm just trying to put things in perspective. They're going to take this as saying, this is what happened when we let. This is what happened when we let, homosexuals and gays and give them rights and all this other stuff. I've heard it, and I'm sorry for all the people who've been offended by my next statement. I may have preached it in the past, because I was part of that mindset. But what I have noticed after doing some research is that the LGBTQ community has completely disregarded the study and has gone on record and consistently. They've consistently have stood and said, we do not follow this ideology. We are not in support. This is not a group of people that we accept into our community. So that's what he's saying as well, that they're not being accepted into any community. So at least on that factor, both sides seem to see the same thing, like, yo, this is not something that we stand on, but this is an ideology that, and here's the thing, I don't think this doctor or this professor, he's not the first person to bring this up. He's not the first person to have a conversation at this level. So that's when things start getting a little scary for me, because this isn't the first time I heard it, and this isn't the only person I've heard it from. So I've heard this argument several times. Like I said, a couple years ago, I heard it in a TED Talk. Excuse me. This is something that you kind of have to be, and it freaks me out, right? I got kids. I got all daughters. I'm a girl dad. And they're all under the age of 8. So this thing scares me. It makes me very, very nervous about, being around just in society in general. I get freaked out when, their moms take them to, grocery stores and all that kind of stuff. Cause I'm always thinking about, like, you always hear these stories of people snatching kids and stuff like that. It's just all right. I don't know if there's any more.
They'll use language to kind of distance themselves from LGB folks, which I talk about more in my book and in other articles that I've written. There's a lot that could be said about whether attractions to minors are in themselves a sexual orientation, and there's research that I cite in my book about that. But to me, that misses a larger and more important difference, which again is about attraction versus behavior. If we did,
okay, I don't think we need to go any further. I get it. Attraction versus behavior. And I get it. If you're attracted, you should not act on it. But at the same time, you should work your damnedest. Like, I'm sorry. If I'm going too hard, let me know in the comments. I don't think I am. I think that there needs to be a instead of self-identification, there needs to be personal responsibility. Okay. And there's that thing again. He brought it up again. Self-identified. I think self-identification is a cop-out to doing the work. Well, I just self-identify as fat. Or you can do your work. I self-identify as this. Or you can do the work to be a better person. And when it comes to sexual orientation, like, I promise you, bro, when I tell you this, I mean this wholeheartedly. I give 2 rats' asses who you sleep with. I really do. Like, I don't care. But if you're talking about children, bro, like, that's when I'm gonna have a serious issue with you. I'm gonna have a serious issue with maps, because your self-identification is justifying your bad habit, or and I don't know. I don't deal with this kind of issue. I don't have an attraction to children, so maybe it may come off as I'm being insensitive. Maybe I'm one of the people that he talks about in the study that people are giving them the bad rap. I think there's certain things that that people deal with that they don't want nobody to know about, and they work their hardest to make sure it don't come out in light. And you really got to give that to God. You really have to give that to God. Everyone's got something, honestly, as much as therapeutic as we think self-identification is, as people think it is, I think there's a part of it that goes, listen, there's some things about me I really wish that nobody knew. I really hope never gets out. And we all have that. So I just think that I may sound insensitive, but on this one, I don't care. I'm going to call a ham and a duck, or goose a goose. There's some statement I used to say with my master's commission. We call a ham and a duck. And no, I'm not going to buy this one. I'm not buying into that. I barely buy into self-identification. Like, I'm completely insensitive to it. I'm trying to be better. I really am. So I try to ask people, like, what do you want to be called? But if I ask somebody what you want to be called and they say a map, I'm like, bruh, let's go over here and talk in private. I'm going to tell you about the gospel of Jesus Christ. Because I think you've tried everything but Christ at that point. You've tried everything but Christ. Christ still delivers. I don't care what anybody tells you. There becomes a point where progressive becomes too progressive. And this right here, I feel like has gone too progressive. And with that being said, when it comes to the movement of God, I don't think we're progressive enough. I think we stopped talking about how God can change you, how God can redirect you, how God can do work into your life. And on this one, I do believe in deliverance. I believe that God can deliver. I believe God could deliver anything and anybody. He can deliver me. You know what I'm saying? So I we stop bringing that conversation to light, and when we stop bringing that conversation to light, we are now trying to again do ministry under our power. So here's where it comes down to. Not many churches to this day still talk about the power of Christ, that it can, the Bible talks about the same resurrecting power that rose Jesus from the grave now lives into me, now lives in me. We stop preaching that power, that dunamis, that transferring, that changing Bible, that changing power. As a matter of fact, there's a scripture that in my little gospel circle that I have, we been chewing up Romans 12 too, where it says, "Do not be conformed to the habits and patterns of the world, but be transformed by renewing of your mind." Be transformed by renew. Transform means to change. So don't settle for what everybody else is doing. So don't fall into the habits of the world, but be transformed, be changed by the renewing of your mind. Clearly, like again, I said, this psychologist probably can debate me under the table because he knows many facts and figures, and he's got studies and he's got tests and he has all these different things. But I'll tell you this much, changing your mind, and this is where it comes down to. I don't believe that people really feel like that God can change their mind. I don't think that people believe in the word enough to change their mind. And listen, I think and we'll get to this next subject, but the next subject is one of the reasons why people don't think that God can change their mind, because they don't feel like it's relevant anymore, because um believers have not used it in the correct sense. They have not, they have been kind of they've Christians throughout the years, and I've noticed it more so now than ever before. We just end up having a worse rap than we need to have. We have a bad rap. We are seen in a bad light. We do weird out stuff. We act a certain way. We act funky. We do weird things and thinking it's cool, but it's really not cool. And I'll even, and listen, I'm one that's hard on everybody. I'm hard on churches too. I've been at services where I kind of look at them like, really, bro? That's weird. That's so weird. So because we as a body have tried to be progressive, right? We wanted to bring Jesus to a new way, and we do weird things. And so and some of them I'm some of them I'm cool with because I grew up with it. Some things I'm just like, that's weird. It's weird. And so with that being said, people have now denied the power of the gospel. And not only that though, it's not just worldly people, it's Christians themselves. There's a lot of Christians. And if you're watching this, if you can be honest, there's probably moments in your life where you've denied the power of God, where you didn't think God can do it. You just, I tried it many times and it didn't work. And I don't feel like God can do it. I just don't feel like that's in his repertoire. People have been praying for certain healings, you know. People have been praying for healings in their bodies and haven't been able to receive it. And they've been dealing with illnesses for, 10, 15 years, or mental struggles or things of that nature. And with those things, I do believe that you have to work as if it's up to you and pray like it's up to God. So I can't pray for me, I can't pray for health to come my way and God to restore my health if I'm not taking care of my health, right? Faith without works is dead. So I got the faith where I'm going to pray, but there's no work behind it. And I'm not talking from work from a law versus a grace type of thing. I'm talking about, I know it's not work to not eat a cinnamon roll at 12 noon covered in cookie batter and with chocolate chips at 12 o'clock on a Tuesday while you're trying to kick yourself in the fat burn after working out. That's a lot of detail in that. And the reason that there's a lot of detail in that is because that's what was provided for me for lunch today. And I had to make a choice. Do I want to be satisfied with this cinnamon bun, or do I want to be healthy? It's not, see, we talk about work. That's really not work. That's choices. I think people are confusing work with choices. I can choose to eat that cinnamon roll. I can choose it. And guess what? I'm going to be fine. I just got to remember that when I continue to make that choice, my life is going to be reflective of the consistency of that choice. Damn, that's good. My life is going to be reflective of the consistency of that choice. If I do not eat the cinnamon roll and continue to eat my feelings and drink my water, my life will be the reflection of the consistency of my choice. If you continue to sleep with other people, as opposed to your spouse, or just being monogamous, you just being a dog. And I mean that in the very looseliest terms, like men and women can be both dogs, can be dogs. And you're just sleeping around, you are consistently choosing. So don't confuse you staying celibate or monogamous to your spouse as work. That's not work. That's choices. Working, when I'm talking about work in the gospel sense, it's like I'm trying to earn God's approval by staying sin free. Honestly, if you want to stay sin free, just make the right choices. It's not hard to say, I'm not going to eat the cinnamon roll. Did my body desire it? Hell yes. It was a cinnamon roll topped with cookie dough batter, chocolate chip cookie dough batter, and it was melted over it with cinnamon. Yum. I know some people like the homie Heidi Martin, she don't like cinnamon, but everybody else do. She's the only person in the world that don't like cinnamon as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, it was hard. That was hard. But and if could I eat it today, nothing happened? Yeah, I could. But it won't get me to my goals faster than I wanted to. So I say all that to say, if you're struggling in this area, and listen, fam, if you're watching this and you have a secret struggle and your secret struggle is alongside of being a map, do me a favor. Don't self-identify yourself just to justify your behavior. You know what I'm saying? Because if I could be completely honest with you, I don't know, but and she never, sorry, Alan, he never covered whether I watched the video. He never talked about because he said it's not damaging. Okay, well, one of the things he didn't talk about was their relationship to pornography. So I'm just going to talk about it real quick. He didn't talk about the relationship to pornography. So if at one point I didn't really struggle. Like a lot of men struggle with pornography. I never really struggled like that with pornography. I have an interesting, weird pornography story, very weird one, that only a handful of people, like a small, minute group of people know. And so I'm not going to share it here because it would put somebody under the bus, and I don't want to put certain people under the bus. So my issue with pornography is very minute. Like I don't have a lot of experience with it, but I know many men who do. And actually I know women too. So it's not just a men thing. Anyways, a lot of attractiveness and a lot of people's ideas and stances on sex come from unhealthy expectations, and a lot of unhealthy expectations are attributed because of porn. Like that's why dudes have a girl bring their DoorDash order to the door, and they be like, "Oh," thinking maybe this one wants to bang me, because that's what happens in porn. You know what I'm saying? Like all these disturbing situations, like, "Oh, yo, thanks for bringing my pizza. Here's your pizza, ma'am. Thank you. Oh, I don't have any cash for a tip. That's okay, ma'am. Don't worry about it. No, it's not okay. Come inside. I'll give you a tip." Bow, chicka, wow, wow, said no one ever. But porn makes it feel like that's acceptable, and that's what happens. So my question that I wanted to ask that haven't been able to ask, how does child pornography fit into this? Because listen, let's be honest, it's out there. Unfortunately, it's gross and it's disgusting, and it's from the gates of hell, and it's infuriating, but it's out there. So, they may say, well, I don't do anything wrong. I don't act on it. How many of those people who don't act on it are looking at child pornography to feed the attraction? Right? Because a lot of men who have this lustful issue, you always find a connection to porn because porn is feeding into that hunger. Porn is feeding into that attraction, and vice versa. And it goes all the ways. It doesn't just heterosexuals, homosexuals deal with this, bisexuals deal with this. So there's porn fits everybody. Unfortunately, there's porn out there for everyone. So unfortunately. So then the question comes up. So then that again, going back to Alan's statement and his whole thing is this is kind of no, it's morally wrong, period. And we need to, I think what we failed to do is protect our kids. This country is not doing a good job in protecting our kids. And I'm not talking about the vaccines. I care less. I'm talking about protecting the innocence of our kids. And I think social media has a part in it. I think the internet has a part in it. I think parenting has a part in it. I just think where we are as a society definitely has part in it, but we're failing our kids. And this is sad. We can't, somebody has to stand up for our kids. And I'm going to be one to be like, no, MAPS is not okay. MAPS is not okay. So, no, it's not okay. And man, I don't know. Maybe you can answer this for me. Was it simpler when we were kids, or was it just we just didn't know it was around? Was it this nasty? Were people this gross? I guess I should ask my mom. But now I can't. My kids don't get out of my sight. When they're with me, they do not leave my sight. I have to know that they're there. Even if they're playing at a park, I have to see them at all times. Like they don't get far down the street. I have to watch them ride their little bikes or little tricycles down this road, and I got to see them turn around, and I got to see them come back. We were at Bullwinkle's, not Bullwinkle's is closed, sorry, but it's reopening on my Montclair Upland family. No, but if I see them, at Chuck E. Cheese, or even it's sad, even at Chuck E. Cheese or Disneyland, I gotta have my hand on one and looking at the other one like they can't get far. And remember when we were kids, man, I remember there was no way to tell your parents where you were. Like you couldn't. I barely called my mom. I'd be on my bike and I'd be gone. Remember when we were kids? We'd be on our bike and we'd be gone. And you had one rule: is you had to be home before the street lights. Come on. And I didn't even have that rule. I don't even remember my mom ever telling me that. And I remember being everywhere. Like we'd be on our bikes and we'd be traveling, bro. We'd be miles away on our bikes. We'd be at the park, and we'd go to a friend's house, we go here, we go there. And then when I got hungry, it was time to go home, I'd go home. And my mom and dad didn't think nothing of it. Like, was it truly a different time? Was it a different time, or was it we just didn't know that stuff wasn't available? Like, is it getting worse, or is it just getting more available? Because people always talk about the war on blacks with police officers, and I got always people like, man, this is bad, this cops just shooting black people and beating them. I'm like, first of all, this ain't new. Like I witnessed one myself, in Rancho at the age of 15. I seen it. So it's not like this ain't new to us. This has been happening. So was the same thing where were we in danger? You would hear stories, but that's just I don't know. Let me know what you think, man. A quick commercial before we move on to the next section. Make sure you go to heritageparkprod.com to get more information about what's coming up. We got the new episode of Superficially Keep. We are 3 weeks away from the new episode releasing on HBTV, and HBTV is changing too. So I'm not going to give you the HBTV online page until that gets fixed. And I saw it today, y'all, and it's fire. We got a lot of cool things happening next year for HP Heritage Park. We got new producers, we got new artists. It's crazy. But to know more information, text us 848-207-2631. Text us, let us know what you think about the show. Join the Text HP group. We got a lot of stuff happening next year. We want you to be part of it. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for sitting there and being patient with us through the last couple of years and being a supporter, man. We really, really appreciate it, man. So that was that was intense. But no, on to a lighter note. Have you heard about what happened with Joel Osteen? I know you did. You had to. You had to. I hope you did. And if you didn't, let's look at what happened. This is amazing. This is amusing story. When I mean amazing, I'm being amused. All right, here we go. Joel Osteen, they found a plumber found hundreds of thousands of dollars hidden in the walls of the restroom at Joel Osteen's church. This is crazy. Watch this.
Church with thousands. But this morning, Pastor Joel Osteen in the spotlight with a money mystery.
But I mean, it was just like unbelievable, the things he was telling us that they found in the wall.
During his morning radio show, host George Lindsay took a call from a man who identified himself as a plumber who recently worked inside Osteen's Lakewood church. The station, 100.3 in Houston, asked callers to chime in about interesting discoveries.
There was a loose toilet in the wall, and we removed the tile. Well, they removed the tile. Went to go remove the toilet, and I moved some insulation away, and about 500 envelopes fell out of the wall.
Envelopes full of cash, checks, and money orders.
I went ahead and contacted the maintenance supervisor that was there, and I went ahead and turned it all in.
The church confirmed the find in a statement, writing, "An undisclosed amount of cash and checks were found," adding they notified police, but Lakewood has no further comment at this time. Houston police wouldn't share how much was recovered, but did state Friday evidence from the recovered checks suggests this November case is connected to a March 9th, 2014 theft report of undisclosed amounts of money at the church. That money disappeared from a church safe. And while police launched an investigation, no arrests were ever made. With regular services planned for Sunday, police documented the evidence and left it with Lakewood staff, but called the case an active investigation. Now, there was a push to get that plumber some reward money after that incredible find, but Crime Stoppers says that the expiration for the tips had already passed, and that if you are to hand over a tip, it must lead to an arrest. And as of right now, Peter Kristen, no arrests, no suspects named. Send it back to you.
Unbelievable. Morgan Chesky, thank you for that report. I keep thinking.
That's hilarious. First things first. Okay, so give you a little bit of update. I think this news article was probably a week old. As of today, the plumber did get a reward. Some news are reporting up to $20,000. He was rewarded for that. And other reports too. They have actually reneged that it was $600,000. I know you saw at the bottom of the screen it said $600,000 was found. It's been undisclosed, but the numbers that have the more realistic numbers about half that. So about $300,000 was found. Now, Twitter, of course, is going hard on Joel Osteen, and there's even a guy that took a selfie with Joel Osteen. I don't know if you saw it on Twitter, but a guy held out his phone, saw Joel Osteen at a restaurant, like, "Oh, Joel Osteen, Pastor Joel, can we take a picture?" And he goes, "Sure." So Joel Osteen is a sweet man, so he goes to take a picture, and while he's taking the video picture, he says, "You know you're full of sh, right?" He didn't say sh, but he said the word. He said, "You know you're full of it, right?" And Joel Osteen just, being Joel Osteen, sweet-hearted, kind guy, just walked off. Now, I don't know Joel Osteen. I know people who work for him. I do know people who are connected to him. I know people who work on his staff. And the words I've always heard is that he is genuinely a nice guy. And Twitter goes in hard on this person, man. And so do church people. Again, another thing that the left and the right genuinely seem to agree on. Pedophilia is pedophilia, and Joel Osteen is not a true Christian. And this is just from both sides. Me, I'm not one to tell somebody that they're a true Christian. I don't know what their personal relationship with Christ is. I don't find him a very eloquent speaker. I don't, I never really listened to his message and wasn't on the floor crying like, "Yes, Jesus, yes, yes, yes." But at the same time, people like, he doesn't talk about hell. He doesn't preach hell, 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 hell. I mean, you can literally preach the love of God without preaching hell like that, So there's a balance. And so with that being said, but and then on top of it, it didn't help that Lakewood Church accumulated $4.4 million in PPP loans last year. Like, we can't discuss this without discussing that. The reason why, and then we have to talk about Hurricane, I don't think it was Katrina. Dang it, we covered it on this show where they were flooding in Houston, and Lakewood wouldn't open up their church for the people who were who are devastated. And many are saying because if he had let them in, the floods would have exposed that they were hiding money behind the wall. Listen, this is my thing on it. For those of you here, my thing about Christianity and ministry is that people, it's the only business, and I'm using the business loosely, the term business loosely, but it's the only business where you don't have to be trained to think you know how it works, right? So like people don't go to the doctor and be, oh, I've been to the doctor for 17 years. I could be a doctor. I've gone to the doctor. I could be a dentist. I go to the dentist twice a year, but people think they know church because they go to church. Well, here's I don't understand. Maybe because I haven't handled that much money before, but I don't understand where it benefits them to hide the money in a wall, especially when it's been disclosed that some of the amounts in some of those envelopes were checks. Why hide checks in a wall? 2014, in March of 2014, Lakewood Church reported that there was a robbery and $600,000 were stolen. And now people are saying this is for the insurance money. Why would you report $600,000 stolen for insurance that would probably cover $600,000 when you hit $600,000 in a wall? So if you hit it in the wall and you got reimbursed, I just don't. Maybe I'm not that close to understand it, and maybe but people, conspiracy theorists have just gone off the deep end with this junk, and I'm like, first of all, again, my pushback is you don't know church like that. Okay. You don't know church like that. For example, you don't have to listen. Churches don't get taxed. We just don't get taxed like that. So to not get taxed like that, there's no reason to cut corners when we're not getting taxed. Like you can, how many pastors get paid is like, and this is from every church that I worked at, did this. My first check every month was the bulky check. My check was the bulky check. And in that check, it said it was housing expense, which is untaxable, right? They won't tax me on my housing expense. So my first check of the month, every church I worked at, they gave me what was called housing expenses. And yeah, I used it for housing because, but there's so many tax benefits for being a church, was what I'm trying to say. So the bulk of my check came for that. And then I would get this tiny little check on the 15th, and that was salary. And that tiny check throughout the 12 months, because they 1099 me in most of the churches I worked at, that tax number, that it generated from that salary checks was so minute, I never got taxed from it. So I was actually, getting write-offs, and I was getting refunds. So my point is, I don't understand the concept of hiding it. If it was him or his team, I don't see how that can work that way. Again, you're talking about a pastor who's, let's look it up. I'm gonna look it up right now. Because you're talking about a pastor who's worth a whole lot of money to hide $600,000. Well, now they're saying $300,000 in the walls of his church. Joel Osteen's net worth, and remember, this dude's got books and all kinds of stuff. Joel Osteen's net worth, as of right now, is $100 million. So you tell me that he's going to this length to save 6%? That doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't make sense. But the whole thing doesn't make sense. Who steals the money and be like, we're going to put it in this wall? Like, hide it in the wall in your house. Hide it somewhere else. Like, but either way you look at it, you add that to the $4.4 million in PPP loans. You add that to, and I understand why they filed for that PPP, because they had to pay paychecks during the coronavirus because they couldn't have service. I get that. I don't know the revenue numbers for Lakewood, but I'm pretty sure they're fairly high. But honestly, were they standing to lose? I guarantee you that they probably were, because many churches did. And then there are some churches that didn't lose at all during 2020. So to be honest, I don't know. I don't know Joel Osteen like that. I've never really met him. So I can't really speak on what his intentions are. And, I talk about it in my book, being careful to judge people's intentions. And that's what we're doing, man. The Twitter world is going off on this dude like they know his intentions. And I like to ask you the question, like, what would you do? You woke up tomorrow morning, you had $100 million in your bank account. Here's the truth of the matter is, at least he's still nice to people. People are like, well, that's fake. Well, there's people who don't have to be fake. They're just dickheads altogether. And so you put $100 million in their bank account, they're going to be a dickhead naturally. So I don't think that changes anything. Personally, I don't think that changes anything. Because, when you get money, it just multiplies who you truly are. So if you're a jerk and if you're a jerk poor, you'll be a butthead rich. So I see his heart. I'm more familiar with his father, with the work of his father, and his father, from my experience. Again, I didn't know him personally, but I knew people who knew him more than they knew Joel, and even his brother Luke. I think it's Luke. I'm sorry if I messed your name up, Joel, but they seem to be very nice and genuine people. So I don't know, but I will say this: it's not a good look. It's just not a good look, and it's not a good look for the church. And for those Christians that talk crap about him, it's not a good look for you either, right? There's nothing worse. How are we going to try to be a ministry to the lost when they see us turning on each other? I hope that it comes out that it was some sinister plot to frame him. I hope that he's not the one that made this call. And I know Twitterverse and even this page is going crazy, but he made the call. I don't know. We're so skeptic. People today are so skeptic. We can't believe the truth if the truth landed in our lap. You know what I'm saying? Like, people are still fighting over Kyle Rittenhouse, and we saw video footage. We saw this dude being chased. So it's like, we're so skeptic. We won't even believe the truth when we see the truth. So I'm talking to believers right now. So if you're not a Christian and you're talking about it, shut the hell up. You're not a Christian. But we can't be bashing. We gotta be praying. And people say, well, he's not a true Christian. Bro, I've noticed that anybody who gains fame or anything like that, or have some level of fame or have a big soapbox or stuff like that, and then they claim Christian, we always have to go there and say that person's not truly Christian. I'm glad you don't follow me around in my life. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing that really will point out that I'm not Christian, but I'm just saying we'll figure out something, right? Like, people are not even stalling Kanye out, and that dude's a baby Christian. So it's just the skepticism and the refusal to pray for people is just erroneously frustrating and exhausting. I say all that to say, yes, this is not a good look, Lakewood. This makes the church look really sketch on so many levels. I don't understand how you got away with this or why. I hope it's not insurance fraud. I hope it's just not like, again, what's the, I don't, yeah, you ever think of something, you see somebody do something, you go, look, what was the end game? What was the reason? Why do this? What were you thinking about doing this? Like, and I know this guy's not making it up. The plumber's not making it up. Is it, I don't know. And the only reason you report, I don't know. See, now y'all got me tripping. Now y'all got me sitting here thinking, well, maybe it is, insurance fraud. Like, that's ridiculous, though. I just don't see how you would benefit from that when you're already at 100 million. I guess I don't know greed like that. I guess I don't know greed like that, which is, I guess, is a good thing. I don't know. So let me know what you think in the comments. If I'm wrong, then let me be wrong. If I'm right, none of us would know. We really couldn't tell you anyways. None of us are there. From some of the reports that I've gotten, that the members at Lakewood, some of them are pretty frustrated about this whole situation, that this is sad, and they pray for the best. But listen, just pray for these people, man. Just pray for Pastor Joel, pray for Kanye, pray for everybody. Pray, I think in the new year, one of the things I want to practice with the people who I'm not over anybody. And even if somebody was going to my church, I'm still not over them. Like that's something we'll discuss later down the road. Like God doesn't call you to people to be over or under. I lead with people. That's how I feel it. I lead with people. I don't lead over. No one leads over me. I lead with you. And we go through life together. And I believe when you go, one of the things I want to share down the road in the new year is that we need to be more proactive to pray instead of judge. We need to be more proactive to pray instead of pass judgment and think we know everything. Like there's nothing worse than somebody who thinks they know everything, right? Oh, I know everything. I know what they're doing. Like social media gives us a glimpse into other people's lives. And because we have a glimpse, we think we know everything that person's going through. You're a freaking fool if you think that. You're a fool if you think you know what Joe Biden's thinking. You're a fool if you know what they're doing over there in Washington. Like every person in Washington has lied to us. Everybody, And so I am skeptical to that point where I'm not going to believe everything I hear and I'm not going to believe everything I see because I've been so wrong so often. So my only response, instead of taking a side and choosing what I'm going to believe in, which is basically what we're doing, we're choosing what to believe in. Like we need to be praying and we have to take accountability to be decent human beings. If anything, we learn from today's episode of Epic Thoughts, be a decent human being, pray for others, and just be kind to one another, be kind. So that's a couple things I just want to share with you. Some things to look forward to that I'm looking forward to. I'm debating. I have the ticket, so I don't know if I'm going to go or not. But Kanye and Drake are rocking the mic at LA. I think tomorrow's the 8th. And so I am thinking about going. I don't know. You let me know. Should I go see Kanye and Drake? Like, how often does that happen? I'm really excited to see Kanye and Drake. I want to see. I don't even know what this is. Is this a Kanye concert? Is this a Drake concert? Is Drake going to do Drake stuff and Kanye's going to do his old stuff? Or is Kanye going to do his new stuff? Like, the concert is a Donda concert. So I'm just like, so are we doing record off the Donda and Drake gonna be there? So I'm very curious about tomorrow night. We didn't get a chance to talk about that, but I think I'm gonna go see Kanye and Drake. It's a Wednesday night, but I'm grown. So Kanye and Drake tomorrow night in LA. So pray for me. I think I'm gonna go. And then also in your prayers, shout out to Nick Canyon. Heartbroken story. His 5-month-old passed away this weekend from a brain tumor. And that when I saw that happened right before we went on, and it just breaks my heart. It's tough to lose a child. I thank God I don't know what that feels like, and knock on wood, I never have to bury a child. But I've seen other people go through it, and it's just excruciating to see a parent lose their child. So my prayer goes out to Nick Cannon, who announced today that his 5-month-old lost his battle to cancer. It's just sad. And listen, people may not believe what you believe, and people may not care about the things that you care about, but they're still people. And God gave us dominion over the earth, but he didn't give us dominion over people. So as much as you think you know about God in the Bible, he did not give you rule over people. Pray for people. We want God. We want God to bless everyone. I want everyone to come to the repentance of Christ. I want everybody come to the knowledge of the gospel. So let's pray for Kanye. Let's pray for Drake. We'll pray for Joel Osteen, and we pray for Alan. And last thing, Alan has stepped down as professor of that school right pretty quickly after this video came out. So he got backlash from both sides, right and left, and he basically stepped down permanently, I believe. So if I didn't say that earlier from the video earlier before, he has since then been removed as a professor at that school. But make sure you go to heritageparkprod.com. Make sure you get your Christmas gifts, man. Orders are backing up, and we got to get your stuff in so you can get it before Christmas. 848-207-2631. That's the number to text when you want more information about HP. There's ways to give also right there on Cash App, Venmo, and PayPal if you want to sow a seed into Heritage Park. We appreciate that, Junk. heritageparkproductions.com. And we got enough stuff coming up. We'll see you next week. I'm excited to hear from you. I love you guys, miss you, and stay safe out there and keep praying